thanks again to everyone for joining. Great to see so many people interested in the session. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any issues with seeing the presentation or hearing us or anything, then by all means, please just drop a note in the chat and we'll do what we can. For questions and answers, again, we do have some time at the end for Q&A, but by all means, as we go and you start to see the demo, put some questions in the chat. We do have just nearly 1,000 people registered today, so we might not get to all the questions, but if we do, if we don't, then what I will do is send out a follow-up with all of the questions and answers in, so everybody has got some kind of transparency on that. So don't worry, we will get to the answers. It may not be in the session, but you will get a response. So thank you. Next slide, Ward, please. So just some quick introductions. My name is Lee Morris. I'm the Director of Direct Global Sales. Colleague with me is Ward Takea. He's our BIM consultant, one of our BIM consultants and part of the customer success management team. You'll see more of Ward today, as Ward will be doing the actual demo and talking you through some of the features and the functionality of CheckPoint. Next one, Ward, please. Yeah, so very excited to be introducing CheckPoint. I'm sure some of you will already have seen in the press and on LinkedIn, CheckPoint has kind of been put out there in the marketplace. A little bit of history on it. It's come about from an acquisition that we made in October last year. We acquired a company called Synapse, a European-based company. Been in the marketplace for several years prior to our acquisition. Point there is the fact that although this is a kind of introduction to a new product in the Solibri portfolio, the actual development and the tool itself has been developed for several years. So it's very robust, it's very reliable, and it's something that some of you may already be a bit familiar with. But what you'll see today is how we've kind of taken the tool and made it into a bit more of a kind of Solibri focused product. One thing that's very important is this is not a replacement to Solibri. This is an enhancement to people that are using Solibri today, and we've designed it over the past 3 or 4 months to kind of address two sides of the coin, really. If you're using Solibri today, then this is an enhancement to the model checking and the data validation that you're seeing through the tool. If you're not a Solibri user, then it's either a really good entry point into model checking and data validation, or it will also help you with your internal or the third parties that you're using today to do model checking and data validation. So customer or not of Solibri, this is a new product and it's there to rapidly add value to what you're doing today. Next slide, please, Ward. Thank you. And what you'll see today is the kind of, when I say how fast and quicker it is for you to use and the value is, you'll see it because we've done a number of things to the tool. So we're now looking at Revit and IFC files being incorporated, which we'll go into once the demo starts. It's cloud-based, browser-based, so it's extremely flexible. And also the user interface has been designed so that it's really easy to pick up on and really easy to use. So what you will see from the demo today is the way that the tool has been purposely created for you to be able to pick it up, run with it really quick, and to start to really see value on the model checking and data validation that you need for your projects. But you'll see that once the demo starts. Thanks, Ward. So final slide from me. As we go through the session today, there'll be an opportunity for you to sign up to a 2-week trial. It is for a limited time. I think it expires in about 7 or 8 days. So we would encourage people to sign up and start to look at the tool. If that doesn't happen today, then we will follow up, and there's lots of direct ways that we can engage with you. You can request the trial later on. You can send a note to sales@solibri.com and we'll pick up on that, and then we'll be able to reach out to you. If the trial's not suitable, then we're more than happy to just jump on a call and give you a more bespoke demo or just have a chat about CheckPoint. But what we're really looking for is at the end of the session is people to be encouraged to at least have a look, continue the conversation and start to see kind of what more the tool can do for you specifically. So with that, I'll say thank you again. Hope you enjoy the session, and I'll hand over to Ward to take you through the demo.
Okay, thank you very much, Lee, for the intro. and welcome everyone to this webinar. In this part of the webinar, I'm going to walk you through some of the interesting functionalities that Solibri CheckPoint has. After that, we're going to go a bit technical and then show you a live demo on also how the workflow would look like on Solibri CheckPoint. If you have any questions, of course, just refer to the chat or the Q&A section over here and just drop your questions and we will refer to them at the end. Okay. So Solibri CheckPoint is a browser-based model checker, allowing users to have model coordination, model checking workflows in the cloud. This includes, of course, creating federated models, model sets, and having some 3D viewing actions, which are essential for the model coordination process. This includes, of course, creating section boxes, showing grids, isolating elements, and so on. It has three main rule checks, which are used to validate the models. And these rule checks are used to identify intersections, clearance for the elements, and most importantly, do some data validation for that. And speaking about the data, Solibri CheckPoint has its own data viewer, allowing users to view their BIM data in a more structured way. It helps them in their quantity takeoff workflows. And of course, we can show all the results, which comes from the validation rules. Regarding reporting these results and the issues that comes in from the validation rules, there are different ways to handle that. So we can export it into different file formats, or we can just track the issues and keep them on Checkpoint. And the most important thing over there is that also we can integrate it with third-party solutions, such as Procore issues, ACC issues, BIM 360 issues, and so on. Now, some of you might think, how's this, where's this positioned with Solibri Office? So as Lee mentioned earlier, this is designed as an enhancement for Solibri users. For Solibri Office, there are multiple predefined rules that can be used for your model checking processes. If you're looking for a more detailed analysis on your IFC files, then Solibri Office is your tool for that. On Solibri CheckPoint, we use a different approach. So we offer three main instant and generic rule checks, allowing users to customize them the way they want, and then they can validate their models accordingly. There's also no space limit in the cloud for the models or the federated models that are created on Checkpoint. So you can create as many model sets that you need for your workflow. And also, we work with two file formats. So we're not limited to IFC. Also, Solibri CheckPoint supports Revit files. And the connection between Solibri CheckPoint and other tools such as ACC and Procore allow users to instantly check their files. So as soon as you make an update on these platforms, Solibri CheckPoint will get the latest versions of your files, and then you can check them accordingly. And the most important thing is that there's no plugin required for using Checkpoint. You don't need to install anything on your local drive. You can just open your browser and check your models instantly. So with that, I conclude this part, and now we're going to go to the demo. If you have any questions regarding the information that I've shared with you, just drop them in the chat. Okay. Let me share my other screen. There you go. So this is the homepage of Solibri CheckPoint. So I'm using my browser over here to access Checkpoint. Checkpoint is compatible with all the browsers out there. So I'm using Microsoft Edge. You can use Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, like whatever browser you would like to use. As for the projects that I have over here, you can see from the logo at the top of every project which CDE was this project imported from. So this one was imported from ACC, this one is from Procore. As for this is a Solibri CheckPoint project, which means that this project was created internally on Solibri CheckPoint and the models were uploaded from our local drive to the project over here. So there are two ways to get your files ready into the tool, and we can do that by simply integrating Checkpoint with another CDE, such as ACC, BIM 360, and Procore, or we can just create a new Solibri Checkpoint project and then upload the models from there. For this session, I'm going to use this project over here. It's an example project. So as soon as you click on this, on the project icon, it will take you to the model checking interface. What I want to focus on is the left top corner over here. These 5 main icons, which represent the 5 main processes that any checkpoint user needs to go through. So the first one is models, where we start creating our federated models, create our model sets, and get the latest versions of the files from the CDEs or from our local drive. After that, we go to the data viewer, allowing us to have a more structured approach for the BIM data and showing them properly in a customizable data set. And the third one is filters, where we can classify the elements according to specific attributes or properties from the elements that we have in the model. And the fourth one is the most important one, which is the validation part. Here we have the rules, the 3 main rules, which I'm going to walk you through in a bit. And the last step, of course, is issues, where we can report them and then collaborate with our team members on Checkpoint to identify the issues and fix them. Okay. So after I loaded the files in the 3D viewer, you can see it over here. I can just start navigating through the file over here. And you can see working in the browser makes it easier for the user to navigate properly through the model. So there's no limitation, because what you see in the 3D viewer is a compacted version of the original file. So this is only compatible with Solibri CheckPoint, and it works fully in the browser. So I'm not relying heavily on my GPU for rendering and so on. So of course we can perform now the 3D viewing action. So we can isolate the elements like this, use some context. Also we can perform some sections. So I would like to create a section for these 2 elements like this. And of course we have a 3D viewing bar at the top with more functionalities, just like the grid lines, measuring lines, and so on. Okay, now if I go to the element properties over here, I'm using Revit files, by the way, over here. So if I didn't show that earlier, if I go back to the models, you can see these are all RVT models, which I'm using. Now Checkpoint supports native Revit, which means that all the information that exists within your Revit file will be also imported into Checkpoint. So whether you have a shared parameter, type parameter, project information, anything from there for the Revit file, you'll be able to see it on Checkpoint. And of course, it's the same thing for IFC. There's no different workflow over there. We also convert the IFC files in our browser and view, and we can view them like properly, and we can check their properties accordingly from here. Now, using the element properties, we can go to the second step, which is the data viewer. So over here, the data viewer shows me all the elements that I have in the 3D viewer, but in a more structured way according to specific attributes from the element properties over here. So here we have all the elements in the 3D viewer, 80,663 elements, and I can see them according to their model name, level, category, name, and all the other properties. Of course, this can be customized, so I can add more attributes to it. I can group the elements all together, so I can group them by their model name. This is one. And then I can do a multi-level grouping by applying another property to group the elements. So this will leave us with 7 groups, as you can see from here, based on the models that we have, and then I can group them by the category. So for every model, now we will have all the categories listed below it. So this takes some time because this is like a quite detailed model over here. And as you can see, if I go to the electrical model, you can see the categories below it. Now the data viewer allows me to do some quantity takeoff workflows. So if I have some numeric values in the table, I can aggregate them, and then I can export whatever I have in the data viewer to Excel or CSV. So the export settings are from here. Okay, so that's for the data viewer. If you have any questions on this, feel free to drop it in the chat. So now I'll go to the third step, which is filters. So with filters, we can classify the elements There are different ways to create them. You can create them from the data viewer, from the element properties. And how we work with filters is that filters are somehow like a gadget which allow us to select the elements. Why do we need to do that? Because when I go to rules, I need to apply my filters. If I want to do a clash check between like specific elements, let's say for mechanical elements, architectural or structural, then I need to create a filter for these disciplines as well. So that's for filters. Now I will go to the rules. Let me add a new rule to show you how it looks like. Okay, so as I told you, CheckPoint has three main generic rules, and I can view them from here. So we have the clash check, property check, and free space check. And each one of them has its own requirements, which you can define, and then you can run it. So if I go to the clash check, you will see I need to add a base target and colliding target. And let's say I would like to do a quick clash check for, let's say, the firefighting model and also the structural or the architectural model. Then all what I have to do is just drop the filters over here. So I can create a new filter, or I can just add it from the filters list. So from here I have the sprinkler model, which is the fire protection model. And then for the colliding filters, I'm going to add the structural one. So now I'm going to clash these two models together. And of course, there's a tolerance that we need to specify. I'll just call it clash check. Save. And then I can run it from here. Of course, you can do a 3D preview before saving it to make sure that everything is working well. And then as soon as you run it from here, it will show you the results in the 3D viewer. And also these results will be reflected on the data viewer. So the data viewer is not only to show the data, but also it's for checking. So it shows you the information for the elements which failed the checks that we've done over here. So these are the results. I can view them all in the 3D viewer, but if I want to choose something specific, I can do that from the data viewer. So I can just double click over here, and then it will be highlighted. Also, you can group them all together. So I've grouped all the results. Now I have 7 clashes in total. And I can see some names and also IDs which are happening like twice. So what I can do, I can group these also together to have like a grouping. For instance, you can see this column over here has like 2 clashes in 2 different locations. So what I can do, I can make one group for this column. And I can view that over here. Okay, so I've grouped them by the Revit ID for the base elements. Let's do that for the colliding elements. There you go. And from here we have 2 clashes, and I think this is the one. So let's isolate. There you go. And of course, you can replicate this for all the other clashes. And you can create issues instantly from the data viewer as well. And that's for the first check that we have. For the second one, which is the property check, let me add a new rule from here. So we can go with the second type, which is the property check. As you can see, different requirements you will have to add over here. So the target elements, which are the elements that you want to validate their properties. So let's check the doors. I have an interesting one. So if we go for the doors and see the uniformat number, if it exists or not. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add from the filters. I've already created one for doors. And then we're going to add the property from here. And if I go for uniformat 2010 number, and then I can choose an operator from here. Equals, contains, if you have a specific value that you would like to comply with, but I'll just say is not empty. That's it. So let's call it here property check. Save it, and then we can run it from here. Now CheckPoint will go through all the doors through the filter that was created earlier, and then it will navigate through their properties and search for that specific attribute and make sure if it's empty or not. So there you go. These are the results. You can see the doors in green means that they have the uniformat number, but for the other ones, The red ones, it means that they're just empty. So if I go over here to element properties and then just look for uniformat, you can see it's empty over here. And of course, you can choose any operator that you want to add. And that's for the property check. If you have any questions on this, also drop it please in the chat section. And the last check that we have is the free space. I will show you how it looks like, but also here we have a use case that I've already prepared before. So let's go first with the rule type and choose the free space check. You will see more options over here. So first we need to add a target, then the required elements, this allowed, and then the box that we're creating, the geometry, to validate the free space, or let's say the clearance over here. We can specify the dimensions for it along with the alignments as well. So instead of just filling this, I have an existing one that I've already created before the webinar. There you go. So this one is for the fire alarm panels. We're gonna make sure that they have clearances in front of them. So as you can see, the target elements are fire alarm control panels, which are mainly like electrical equipment. Let's see how this filter was created. You can see we're selecting it through the family name. Okay, and the disallowed elements are everything. So any element within the boundary of the box that we're gonna create is going to be retrieved as a clash. And these are the dimensions for it, along with the alignment, of course. Let's save it and then run it from here. Now, CheckPoint is going to create geometry for me for all the other elements, for all the fire alarm panels, and see if it clashes or if it intersects with any element over there. So I see that all of them have passed. Let's select any of them. There you go. So this is the geometry that we've created. This is the fire alarm panel. And apparently it's not clashing with any element. Of course, if there are any clashes, it will just show you the box in red, and also you will view the let's say the elements which intersected with the box in the data viewer as well. As you can see, it's not applicable over here, which means that all of them have passed this test. Now, of course, these results can be exported into CSV and Excel, or we can just report it to the issues. So let me run the clash check again from here. So we can have like a clash and then show you how we can report it. So for issues, as I told you earlier, there are different ways to do that. We can create a BCF file. So if you are looking for a more open workflow, you can create an issue and then export it in BCF. So let me just select one of these clashes. There you go. And then let's report it. So I'm going to select it again and then create issue. There you go. So now the issue have been created over here. I can take multiple screenshots. You can remove the context, take a screenshot from here. You can give it a title, priority, and then you can assign it to one of your team members who is, let's say, so CheckPoint is a collaborative environment, which means that also you can have your team members to work with you over here. So you can assign this issue to one of your team members, and then they can view it accordingly. So I'll just save it, and then it will appear over here. We will have an option to export it to BCF, or we can just connect to an external issue provider. And you can see the list of integrations that we have at the moment. So we have ACC, BIM 360, and also coordination issues in Procore. More integrations are going to happen, and we're going to add them later on this year. Okay, so that was like a quick overview about CheckPoint. I think we had also like some poll questions, which I think might be interesting for you. So let's start with the first poll question. First of all, so here we have some integrations. Which integrations you're mostly interested in? So at the moment, we're integrated with ACC and Procore, but more integrations are gonna come to CheckPoint later on this year. Okay. So I see like most of the attendees are voting for ACC. Okay, interesting. So I guess like most of the attendees are working with ACC and BIM 360, but also some of you have requested SharePoint and Trimble Connect, and these CDs are also going to be there later on this year. Okay, this is our first poll. The second one, which validation rule do you think is interesting for your workflow to work with? So we have three main checks: the clash check, property, and free space. Which ones do you think is going to be used often in your workflow? Okay, I see like the two checks that are going to be used are clash and also the property, the data validation checks. Interesting. Okay, and also of course we will have more checks like on our roadmap to be added for checkpoint. So that was it from my end, Lee. So
Yeah,
I'll
thanks, Ward.
just
That's great. Thank you very much. Conscious we're coming up on time, so just to quickly answer the around Q&A, what we will do is send out responses to all of the questions and answers. As expected, we've had a lot of questions come in, so we're not going to get to all these. I think there's just one more final question that we're going to pop up as a poll, is if anyone here today would like to sign up for the trial now, or the demo. This is a good chance to do it. If not, we will follow up anyway, and you'll be able to have some communication with us following. But any interest now in registering now, please do that. Perfect. Thank you very much. A lot of good responses there. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, we will issue, as I say, the questions and answers. There's one that's come up quite a lot from existing Solibri customers, which is this part of my Solibri subscription? Checkpoint is a separate product and it requires a separate subscription. If you're a Solibri customer, then there are some kind of benefits to that and some pricing things that we can work out as an existing customer. But at the moment, it is staying as a separate subscription that will require that. So we will answer that question in more detail through the response that we send up to follow up on this. That will become clear, a bit more clear with a follow up. The other one that seems to have appeared quite a lot is this available outside of the UK and the USA? Yes, it is. This is now a European-wide available product. What you've seen today is accessible to you via a subscription. Again, we'll put more detail in the follow-up to you, so that's more clear. But yes, this is now available to anyone everywhere around the world, basically. So please reach out to us, and we can make that available to you to try or to demo or just have a conversation about. So I can just see that we're coming up on time. So again, thank you very much. You've had a great attendance, lots of questions for us to respond to, and a good amount of people that would like to see more. So that is really greatly appreciated. Thank you again for attending, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Thank you.